is I will open your financials up. This is the first time that everybody's seeing this, and so as I pull this up, again, we have a lot that you guys are going to be looking at right now. This is going to be the format that we're going to be sharing these numbers through. And so, we have, his monthly budget in the center, and then around the edges, we basically have different categories of expenditures, along with, on the top right, a category and percent of total that list that you're able to, look at and potentially compare against if you're, thinking introspectively about your own habits and experiences. And, this is, I will say Lewis does an amazing job, by the way, of accounting and, obviously uh, reflecting internally about your own spending. And so this is throughout the whole average throughout the whole year, which is fascinating, not just one specific month. So you're getting a pretty solid look into really how you spend your money right here. And so yeah, let's dive right into that. If you want to walk us through a little bit more, we'll go there.
Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, I know someone's gonna ask or wonder. He said he makes 74,000. 4631 times 12 is not 74,000. So let's let's start there. This is net of tax. So my personal view, and when I gave this to you, David, I took out the taxes withheld from my paycheck because if I don't see the money, then it's not really my money, right? So the
Understood.
4630 monthly, that's what it comes out to. My take home pay is around 60,000, 60,200. Of that, then we start working backwards, right? So savings is probably the biggest chunk of that budget, and the savings is automatic. 1,500 a month that goes into one account that is a high yield savings account called Barclays, and 750 per paycheck goes into that account. That is just cash savings. Then you have your investments, which I also consider savings, and that those investments are a couple. So you have a 401k that I contribute to, you have an HSA that I contribute to, and you also have a Roth IRA that I contribute to. So those are my three main areas that I put money for investments. So as you can see, a little bit more than half of my money is either being saved in cash or invested. I think at this point in time, my savings rate from my paycheck was like 52, 53%, um, which people are like, wow, you're so frugal or you're so cheap or like, that's insane. How do you do that? Um, well, a couple of ways, right? When I first started working, making, mid 50s, I had $27,000 of student loan debt. And it was my mission to pay that off as quickly as possible. So basically, what I did was kind of what I'm still doing. One paycheck would go to the loans, the other paycheck would go to living. And then the magic part is I was able to maintain that over 5 years.
Hmm.
So one paycheck is still going, towards myself now instead of the student debt, and I live off of the other paycheck, right? And when I say one paycheck, other paycheck, I mean for the month, right? So two
Right.
paychecks a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, then we get to rent, 842. That's half. I've always had a roommate, either, my mom and my sister were my roommates at some point. I lived with my family. Really hard to date when you mention that, by the way, in Miami. People look at you funny.
With a
That
roommate.
no, when you say you still live with your parents.
Oh yeah. Okay, I was about to say. I was like, wait. Let me make sure I clarified that. Yeah.
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 No, no, no. Then had a roommate for a little while. Still have a roommate. That figure has gone up a little bit. I'm actually paying like 950 now, but that's then the utilities get mushed into that. I don't pay utilities anymore. So keep living expenses low.
Yeah.
I don't live in glamorous places. That rent in South Florida, people are probably going to ask, where do you live for that amount of money? In Pembroke Pines, in a one bedroom with another person. That's what I was doing for a little while. Now I'm paying 950 and I live near Fort Lauderdale Airport with a roommate, and that's just it. The units out here rent for about 2,000, so I'm close to paying for half of what it is, but it's because I don't want a studio in Las Olas, or a studio in South Beach, or a studio's right on Fort Lauderdale Beach, that I'm able to pay rent like that, right?
Hmm.
Gotta make a little bit of sacrifice, live with someone else, which my roommate's great. So I just know that in general, roommates might not be the best, but my roommate's great. I love living here, and that's how you keep your rent low
Yep.
in a place like Miami.
Yep. 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 Totally. And I think it's fascinating. So we have a lot that's going on here as well that I want to kind of break into. But first, again, you mentioned a lot of awesome notes around how you allocate each paycheck and your mental mindset around how one paycheck, was to help pay down loans and was the, sustenance, and then the other paycheck was your like to live and have your own fun with and other stuff. Um,
Mhm.
you also, I forgot what the name of it is, but you basically were like there's a certain name for the kind of accounting that or kind of spending that you have when it comes into your account, but it's already all allocated everywhere else.
Oh yeah, so I forgot the name that I gave it to you. It's something like the anti-budget
Yeah,
methodology is what I think it's called. The
yeah.
anti-budget.
Yeah, and so with that, a lot of that theory, right, is just making sure that the minute it hits your account, it's almost like it never even was there, right? That's where the high savings rate and the investment rate, how you broke it down into retirement, HSA, and other accounts, right? That's where all that kind of stems from. Um, what is the with the savings percentage, right? Like being such a large percent of your account here. Um, what do you think is like that biggest motivator to make sure that you're saving that in cash and making sure like that is what it is versus one of the other expenditures that could again go towards that nice studio in Las Olas or some potential other more maybe even riskier investments.
Um, so the cash stack started first to get an emergency fund, right? Like that was my priority. They tell you you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses and cash on you on hand at any times. I wanted a year. I wanted a full year of living expenses on me at any time. So that's when the emergency fund hit like 15,000. And then I was like, oh man, I have a lot of money here. I can probably buy a house soon. So I was, gonna start maxing out the 401k, but I was like, no, I can probably buy a house soon, even in South Florida, even by myself. So I kept it. And then, luck is where opportunity meets preparedness. This past December, I love this story because it's kind of how I bought my car too. I was swiping on Zillow and I saw a house in the community I live in now that was up, lowest priced unit in the past like 6 to 8 months. And it just happened that it was in between Christmas and New Year's. So no one was looking at Zillow. So my roommate's a realtor. I was like, no, we need to put an offer on this now. This is the right price, the right space, the right location. This community is great. Like, let's do it. Offer gets accepted on the 31st and get into the home buying process. But um, on top of the house, I also needed a car. I think that I forgot to mention you don't. So that car number there
Yeah, the
isn't.
262.
Yeah, that isn't a car payment. That
Okay.
is insurance. That's gas. That is oil changes. That is not a car payment.
So you own your car
So
outright?
yeah.
Nice.
So part of the savings thing was to buy a car cash because that's what good common sense says. And I did that. So that's another reason why I had a high cash stack at all times is because first I needed a car because I was driving a 2004 Nissan Sentra with 204,000 miles, two working door handles, and only three working windows. And when I drove down I-95, the steering wheel used to shake. And I would
Nice.
show up to client sites in this car and not be able to, go out to lunch with them. I was like, all right, who's driving to lunch? Because it ain't me.
Yeah.
um, Her nickname was Beats Walkin'. That was
Beats
that was the
walking. That's so funny. Nice.
that was
Beats
the
walking.
Center's nickname.
Yeah.
Uh,
A distant relative of Christopher Walken. And
no, yeah,
but
it's just so that's why I always have high cash. I mean, you asked me why I have high cash stock. That's why I always need to buy something expensive. First it was the car, then it was the house, and Now the cash stack is pretty low because the house. So I need to rebuild it again so I can have 12 months of these new higher expenses that I don't even know what they actually are with
Mm,
this house because I haven't even lived
yeah.
in the house yet.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll definitely get dive into that in a minute too, because I'm excited to talk to you about your real estate endeavors. Obviously, we want to go into some of the details that we went into, but we'll definitely talk about the decisions around buying the house and how you went about that specifically. With the investment side of things.